there, and welcome back to my channel. I just want to very quickly say thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed and watched so far. I'm very grateful for all of my subscribers and all the views I get because I have a lot of fun doing these videos. The film we will be watching today is going to be Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, a cult classic, and I did this everyday makeup look in honor of it, so if you'd like to see the transformation and also hear a lot of spoilers, keep watching. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane was released in 1962 and starred Bette Davis as Jane Hudson and Joan Crawford as her older sister Blanche. We open in 1917 at a vaudeville style show, and baby Jane Hudson is a child star. She has her name on the marquee, her show is sold out, she's very popular, she even has her own merch. So she's doing very well for herself. The show is a family act. Her father usually accompanies her on stage. After the show, we see that Jane is actually a brat with very permissive parents.
I don't want to go back to that old hotel. I don't have to take a nap, and you can't make me.
Now, Jane, don't act up, sweetheart. You've got to take your nap. You know that.
No, I don't know, and I'm not going to.
Her older sister Blanche is very shy and reserved.
We gotta have some ice cream for Blanche.
I don't want anything.
What do you think you're trying to do?
I won't forget. You bet I won't forget.
Cryptic. We flash forward to their young adult years, and we are told that Blanche is now a rising star, and Jane has trouble with alcohol, and she's really on the decline right now. We cut to later that night, and we see Blanche and Jane coming home from a party. One of them gets out to open the gate, and the other one is behind the wheel and puts the pedal to the metal. So after the accident, we confusingly jump to yesterday. Blanche, now in a wheelchair as a result of the accident, is watching her younger self on television. Her popularity has seen a resurgence since a television station has been airing her old movies. Then a grown Jane enters the room, followed by her stank attitude.
Jane, what are you doing? I was watching.
Then you're an idiot.
I won't have you speak to me like that.
This is painting the scene that Jane is still very bitter about the way life has turned out, whereas Blanche, who's now in a wheelchair because of the accident, is still very good-natured. She's still very sweet. Jane drops off breakfast for Blanche and scoops up the pet bird, she says, so she can clean its cage. Blanche's friend Elvira, played by Maidie Norman, shows up. Elvira clearly doesn't care for Jane and can see right through her BS. Elvira tells Blanche that Jane has a drinking problem and that Jane has been hiding and throwing away Blanche's fan mail. Blanche kind of makes excuses for Jane. It's through this conversation that we learn Blanche will be selling the house in 6 weeks, and she hasn't told Jane yet.
Elvira, you didn't know her when she was a child, when she was young.
I've seen those pictures she keeps.
Oh, no. It wasn't that she was just pretty. She was different. She was so alive.
Girl, we were just there. No, she wasn't. Damn, I think she heard me. Jane tells Blanche that while she was cleaning the cage, the bird flew out of the window. which Elvira does not believe. She believes that Jane did that on purpose. Blanche tells Jane to sit down because she has something she wants to discuss with her, while Jane twins with the chair. Blanche informs Jane that the best decision for them financially is to sell the house, and Jane flips out.
Who are you trying to help, Blanche? What are you planning to do with me when you've sold the house? What you have in mind, some nice little place where they could look after me?
She snatches the rotary phone from the wall. I actually had a rotary phone growing up. It was our only landline, and it was in the kitchen. So that meant if the killer was chasing you and you managed to make it to the kitchen, 911. Jane leaves, and she makes sure to tell Blanche to eat her lunch. And on the menu today is Blanche's pet bird. You know what? You could kill off every single character in this movie and I wouldn't feel as bad as I do about the bird. So this makeup is supposed to be a clown cakey white makeup, the kind she wears in the movie, and I just realized that it's not that much lighter than my actual skin tone. They're on the ends of the spectrum for foundations, so when you're really, really light or you're really, really dark, it's hard to find a color that matches your skin exactly. For really, really light girls, they give you these dainty foundation shade names like porcelain, fair, ivory, when I think they really want to call them homeschooled and locked in a closet the rest of the time. Jane decides to head out for the day, but first she stops to give us a little makeup tutorial. Blanche sees her go and she decides that this is the time to try to escape. Blanche spots the neighbor outside of the window, but she decides against yelling for her because there's music playing and she thinks she won't hear her. But like, this is your life, girl, use your lungs. Jane, meanwhile, is out running errands. She places an ad in the paper looking for a musical director. We cut back to Blanche, who is typing out the letter.
Under no circumstances let my sister see the contents of this note.
The music isn't even playing anymore. She throws the letter and Jane comes home and finds it. Jane comes in to serve Blanche her dinner, and they have, to me, the most iconic scene in the movie.
You wouldn't be able to do these awful things to me if I weren't still in this chair. But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair. And tell me, what are these awful things I'm supposed to be doing to you?
Then Blanche's SOS letter sprouts from Jane's bosom. Meanwhile, Edwin, played by Victor Bueno, is searching the wanted ads for employment. And while searching these wanted ads, we get to see what Tinder was like in 1962. Edwin lives with his mother, who cannot work as per doctor's orders.
Oh, he says it's arthritis. And the only thing for me to do is not to try and work until it clears up.
Did you suggest what we're going to use for money in the meantime?
I mean, with that accent, she could be a chimney sweep. Edwin sees the ad and he asks his mother to call Jane and pretend to be his secretary. His mother arranges a meeting with Jane later that day. Though since the bird murder, Jane has been playing mind games when it comes to Blanche's food, and Blanche is afraid to even open the lid to her meals and hasn't eaten because she's afraid of what she'll find.
You made me afraid. I thought you were supposed to be the big girl in this family. Nothing wrong with it. You're just a neurotic, Blanche.
Elvira shows up, and it's at this point in the movie that I realized Elvira and Blanche aren't friends. Elvira is actually the maid. During my research for this movie, and yes, I research, I found out that Maidie Norman, who played Elvira, rewrote all of her lines for this movie. Originally, the lines were very master-servant. Maidie, who has a degree in drama, decided that even if she had to play the role of maid, which were the roles that black women were often relegated to, she was going to play them with dignity. Jane gives Elvira a paid day off while Blanche starts knitting. I hope you're knitting yourself an escape plan, girl, because I'm scared for you. Jane serves Blanche her next meal and leaves Blanche with this nugget.
Oh, Blanche. You know we got rats in the cellar?
Jane's mind games cause Blanche to do some donuts. Edwin shows up for his meeting with Jane, and he's acquired a fake British accent.
I wonder if you can guess who I am.
Can you give me a hint?
Well, it's not really fair to make you guess. I'm baby Jane Hudson.
Informs him that she's revamping her act and bringing it back. It's going to be bigger than the Spice Girls reunion tour. Edwin peeps Jane's daddy issues set list. Jane shows Edwin her musical prowess. And this is an amazing shot. It's almost like she's back on a lighted stage and we're the audience. And everyone is disturbed. Edwin is disturbed, Blanche is disturbed, we're disturbed. Edwin and Jane's interactions are very odd. It's almost like they're flirting, but at the same time they're not listening to one another or having the same conversation.
You see, my father was quite well known as an actor.
In the movies? Maybe I worked with him.
I shouldn't think so. He's been dead quite a long time now.
I lost my daddy when I was quite young, too.
Of course, he was more in the classical tradition. I mean, as an actor, Shakespeare and that sort of thing.
People used to say Daddy could have been a star in his own right.
Jane drives Edwin home, and Blanche goes snooping around Jane's bedroom. She thankfully finds some chocolates because she's been starving, but she also stumbles across papers that prove that 1, Jane has been forging her signature, and 2, Jane has been stealing money from Blanche's account. It's at this point Blanche realizes her days are numbered and she tries again to escape. I'm so confused by her technique to get to the phone. Why doesn't she just do the booty scoots? Blanche makes it to the phone, and instead of calling the police, she calls her doctor. Jane comes home and hears Blanche on the phone.
Here at the house.
Jane does not stop there. Oh no. So there's a scene scene I forgot about. Earlier, Jane calls to have alcohol delivered to the house, and she learns that as per Blanche, she's not allowed to have any more alcohol. Jane is able to throw her voice to sound like Blanche.
Blanche, would you speak to this man from Johnson's?
Hello? Who is this, please? Oh, yes, Mr. Carson.
And that comes in handy in this scene because Jane calls the doctor back and tells him not to come. And he isn't suspicious at all. Even though Blanche was just frantic on the phone, he's like, awesome, I didn't want to lose my parking spot anyway. Jane then drags Blanche up the stairs, and Elvira pops in unexpectedly. Jane tells her that they no longer need her services and tells her to kick rocks. While Jane goes to the bank to drain more of Blanche's money, Elvira sneaks back into the house. Blanche's bedroom door is locked and it's very heavy, so Elvira has to try to break it down. And while she's trying to do that, Jane comes back home and she's shocked to see Elvira there. And Elvira demands that Jane open the door, and Jane finally does, and Elvira sees Blanche looking worse for wear.
Get it off in a minute, Miss Blanche. Don't worry, Miss Blanche. I'll get you down from here.
While Elvira is trying to save Blanche, Jane grabs a hammer.
Just rest easy.
This is really upsetting. I think we were all looking forward to Blanche moving out and moving in with Elvira for, an interracial lesbian romantic comedy. The world wasn't ready. The world wasn't ready. After Jane disposes of Elvira's body, the police call looking for her because they know she works there. Jane says she has no clue where she is, and Jane's spooked because this isn't the first time Jane's had problems with the law.
It was like that time in the hotel room when they came and told me that you were hurting and that I'd done it. And there was a big man there, a policeman, and he hit me and he slapped me. And I tried to tell him that I couldn't do a thing like that, not to my own sister.
Edwin, in his best Fred Mertz pants, pops in unexpectedly, and he is toasted. Jane offers him even more alcohol and shows off her old merch. Edwin's a little too interested in a lifelike doll of a child. Blanche, who's been slowly deteriorating this entire movie, manages to muster up enough strength to knock over a table, and it makes a lot of noise. Edwin goes upstairs to see what's going on. He finds Blanche in bed, looking like the end scene of The Fly.
Please. Help me.
Jane realizes she's made the mistake a lot of girls make, which is showing a man you're crazy too early on. Edwin skedaddles. He doesn't even help Blanche. Jane decides that it's time to go, and this next scene is really Hollywood lore at this point. Joan Crawford and Bette Davis famously did not like one another. It's rumored that Joan wore weights around her legs to make herself heavier and to make it more difficult for Bette Davis to lift her. Jane puts a dying Blanche in the car and they drive to the beach. The next morning, Jane is getting her solange on and building sandcastles, while the police show up and they're actually on the same beach that Blanche and Jane are on. Blanche decides she's going to make a death sand confession, and she tells Jane what really happened the night of the accident.
You weren't driving. You were too drunk. I wouldn't let you drive. I made you go open the gates. I watched you get out of the car. You'd been so cruel to me at the party. Imitating me. Making people laugh at me. I watched you get out of the car. I wanted to run you down. Crush you. But you saw the car coming. I hit the gates. I snapped my spine.
And you mean all this time we could have been friends?
The confession kind of frees Jane from the life that she led of bitterness. It's a very strange scene. She begins dancing as the police roll up, and that's the way the movie ends. The movie was shot on a shoestring budget of $980,000 and was shot in a matter of weeks. Robert Aldrich did the most with his budget. The majority of the story takes place at the house. He did a great job of building suspense with very little. You can see this in the scenes where Blanche is afraid to eat. Now for the fashion. The only real look I took away from this was Jane in her 1920s style dress and accessories. It kind of shows that Jane is still living in a time when she was popular. She doesn't live in the present day with everyone else. And Robert Aldrich was able to add to this because if you remember in the beginning, it says that the movie takes place yesterday, which is a very odd title card to start the movie off with. We're not really given an exact time frame for this. It's obviously taking place in the 60s, but when exactly was yesterday? Norma Coach was the costumer for this movie. She actually went on to win an Academy Award for it. This was back when black and white movies and color movies would receive separate categories. Norma would dress Jane in adult versions of her white lace childhood dresses to show that she was still stuck in that era. Bette Davis did her own makeup. Her makeup was styled almost like an aging clown. She looks decayed. Bette Davis was nominated for her role as Jane Hudson. Joan Crawford was famously snubbed. Betty would lose the Oscar to Anne Bancroft for The Miracle Worker, with no thanks to Joan, who actively campaigned against Betty winning. Joan got the last laugh because she convinced the other nominees that if they weren't able to attend, she would accept their Oscar on their behalf, and Anne Bancroft was not able to attend. So the next morning after the Oscars, Joan was seen in a completely silver look, including her hair, holding the gold statue. Bette Davis said that this was financially a very stupid mistake because if Betty had won, the movie would make more money, and the actresses took a pay cut in exchange for profits from the film. That's really petty of Joan. I've done some petty things, but nothing like expensive petty. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane was a surprise hit at the box office. It grossed $9.5 million and spawned a genre called hagsploitation. In an attempt to duplicate the success of the movie, Joan Crawford and Bette Davis, along with Robert Aldrich, were all paired together in another movie called Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte. Due to their feud, Joan Crawford would be placed with Olivia de Havilland. So this is it. This is the completed look. It's almost like a Harley Quinn, the menopause years. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I think the next movie we will do, I have one more Joan Crawford movie in honor of spooky season, and then we have some Lana Turner movies we're going to look at. So thank you so much for tuning in. I always appreciate it. If you like this video, please like it. And if you love it, please subscribe. I'm still thinking about that bird.